June is Pride Month, and we're learning more today on the emotional journey of a former WWE wrestler who transitioned in her mid-30s. We're joined now in studio by Sportsnet's Donnovan Bennett. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me. Look at this studio.
It's really nice, I know.
Awesome.
It's even better in person. I want to talk about your conversation with Gabbi Tuft.
Yes.
I was able to watch it. You did such an incredible job highlighting her story. And of course, some people there at home might remember Gabbi from her time in the WWE as Tyler Rex. Can you talk to us about her story and what made you reach out? What made you want to tell this story?
Yeah, it's such a fascinating story. I've done stories on people in the sports space who have come out before, and I've learned that they've come out socially different times, different teams, different leagues. But for someone transitioning, you're coming out socially and also physically, and someone who was so dominant physically to change physically. I wanted to understand what that was like. Gabbi is a trendsetter, the first ever WWE superstar to transition to female, but I also wanted to learn from her if she came out and transitioned during her career, what that would be like. If that gradual progression didn't take as long and happened while you were a WWE superstar, what do you imagine that would have been like? Would it have been possible?
Oh, that's a good question. Nobody's ever asked me that before. I don't think it would have been possible. You know, at that time I was about 260 pounds with dreadlocks. I had hairy chest, like you name it. I was the alpha male of alpha males. I don't think society would have been ready for that at that time because it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight.
What I love about her story is because of that process, maybe she could go back in the ring as a WWE diva, but also she's making it easier for people to come after her in sports, specifically in wrestling.
I love watching it. I was sharing with you before we started chatting here that she posts and shares about her story on Instagram for all of us to learn. I wonder for you personally, what you took away from that conversation.
I took away that this is someone who is owning who they are, certainly, and as a wrestler, you are in character. Sometimes you have a mask on, you're playing somewhat of a persona that you wouldn't be day to day. Well, you're figuring out for her who she is day to day, but also that changes your relationships, your career. She was high into training, and as she transitioned, some of the men who aspired to be as strong as her didn't want to work with her, but she's found new clientele and people who felt comfortable working with her. In relationships, she had a wife who didn't envision having that relationship in the same way, but they still co-parent, they're still friends. So as you change, your realities change, and she's been so great about it throughout, and so much so that she said to me, I get questions from people. Some people feel that's offensive. I want the questions because that means there's a room and a space for education.
And I loved how she talked about how with her wife it was a different type of love here. I don't want to give too much away here, but this is just part of a series of stories in celebration of Pride that Sportsnet is working on. Give us some more details.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of stories, both written and video, that are going to come out throughout the month. For more information, you go to sportsnet.ca/Pride Month, and we'll update them there. And you can also see our historical archival stories that we've done in past years, because these stories are evergreen, they're important, they're still relevant today as they were when you did them in the past.
And beautifully told, might I add, Donnovan.
Thank you.
I want to talk a little bit about Asian Heritage Month too. You had the chance to interview one of the Blue Jays players, my personal favorite too, Yusei Kikuchi. What was that conversation like?
Well, he's a favorite for many, not only because he comes out to great music and pitches really well. He's a favorite certainly in Canada, in the Asian community, and specifically the Japanese community. He's got media from Japan following him here in Toronto, but he has roots here in Canada. His family has come over, he's assimilated, he's hoping to share some Japanese culture with us Canadians, and I interviewed him and his wife Rumi, who is a great sports broadcaster herself, and learn about what that assimilation process was like. Interesting to know, in some ways not different than it is for many immigrants coming to this country, but also some of the things culturally that he loves about Japan he's brought here, and the things culturally he loves about Toronto. He's noticed a little bit of an increase of Japanese flavor in the ballpark when he pitches. Have you noticed that every 5 days there's an increase in Asian fans when you're on the mound?
Yeah, so...
She's nodding her head, yes.
I felt that the number has been increasing a little bit. So yeah, I'm very happy. I want more Asians to know about Blue Jays and how much fun baseball is.
A staple characteristic of the Japanese community is modesty and humbleness. He's being modest. There is a huge increase in the ballpark. Big shouts to him for that. And I love to see him continue to succeed. Coming up in a couple weeks, you'll see a feature of his wife interviewing him, because as I mentioned, she was a former sportscaster, both doing it in English, not their native tongue. I've been here for a couple years. I'm still struggling with English. I was born here.
Oh, yeah. To be able to move to a new country, new culture, new language, you got to figure out the path system.
Yes.
It's a lot of pressure here. Donnovan Bennett, thank you so much for taking the time to come in here today. Speak to us about both of these amazing stories. We look forward to getting more from you. And by the way, it's your birthday.
It is, yes.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. It just means I'm continually getting old.
Oh, no.
Which you can tell. But thank you for having me.
Of course.
This new opportunity, this space is amazing. Loved watching you own this desk and this
Thank you.
space.
Likewise.
It's been really fun.
Listen, it's really nice to have amazing guests like you be able to come here and share these incredible stories. So it's our honor to have you here. Thank you so much, Donnovan.
No, my pleasure.